Lunch breakers and takers, do us a favor. Take a second to hit that like and subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos in the future. All right, so where we want to start with the Carolina Panthers? You want to talk about that big win last week against the Washington football team?
You know, I'll admit, I'm a little disappointed they won that game. Not
Sure.
because of the draft position or anything like that, but I did want to see Ron get the win and clinch the division and all that. And I thought I thought it would have been nice for him to do it against Carolina. Not that there's any bad blood there, but I thought it would have been nice. But
Sure.
They went out there, they got the win. Washington was not playing their best. So Carolina got the win 20-13. Carolina also not playing their best. The defense was coming around a bit. Teddy did not have a great day. Not a terrible day, but it's kind of been going downhill with Teddy for a while. Over the last month or so of the season. And that popped up again. And it's just, you can see it kind of careening towards a divorce between Teddy and the Panthers, right? This offseason, even though he's under contract, he's got like another $20 million guaranteed or whatever it is. That to me, I like Teddy. I thought he would have played better than he did this year. It's not all on Teddy. The offensive line isn't great in Carolina. And obviously, again, the defense is not great. People bring up their having the ball with a chance to win, I think 8 times this season and being 0-8. Yeah, but I mean, on some other teams, some of those games are already put away.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the thing with young teams, and the thing with teams that have bad defenses is you always give up just enough points to lose, no matter how you're playing.
Right.
Right. And yeah, it'll look like, oh, well, the offense didn't get it done at the end. Well, you could have made some stops, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it looks like they're going to be, right now, they're picking in the top 10. I'm not sure exactly where they are after this win. I want to say they're in 5th. And so depending on what happens next week, they could drop a few more spots. I think 5th might be as high as they can go at this point.
Right.
But they're going to be in range to possibly draft a quarterback if that's the route they want to go. Trevor Lawrence is going to be going number 1 to Jacksonville. I think that Zach Wilson will probably be going number 2 to the Jets. And then from that point, it's kind of anybody's guess. I think they'll be
Trey
in
Lance
play.
probably might be the 3rd.
I don't know that Trey Lance is going to go 3rd. I think it's going to be Justin Fields still.
Justin Fields, yes. Yeah, Justin Fields. Justin Fields and then maybe Trey. But
yeah, I think that Carolina will be in play for both of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we did get some news after the Washington game that might affect that as well.
Yeah.
Washington cut Dwayne Haskins, after he went out maskless, partying and everything.
And then followed up with a bad performance.
And yes.
And he got benched in that Carolina game for Taylor Heineke.
Yes. It was Heineke time.
Yeah, before we go further, let's break that down a little bit. So yes, like B said, just he shows signs of immaturity. That's the word that's coming out of that organization, that he's just a little immature, and you kind of see that in his play too, right?
Yeah.
He got fined for going out maskless, and he's still given the opportunity to go out there and perform, and just didn't play well, right? Now, there's a lot of people attacking him about his character or whatever. I don't think he's a bad kid or anything like that. I don't think that says anything other than he's just a young person that just didn't quite understand how much work you got put in to be an NFL quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And also, he just wasn't that talented as well.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
Because, if he had thrown a few game winners, he wouldn't have been cut. I think that this was inevitable. Whether he had gone out maskless or not, he was getting cut after this season. He's not Ron Rivera's guy.
No.
You have a whole new regime, and Ron Rivera's there now. The former GM is out. They're going to be hiring a new GM this off season. I mean, the chances that he was going to survive that were slim.
Right. Right.
This makes it pretty convenient for the team. They can go ahead and cut him before the end of this season. But yeah, I think he was going to be out regardless. But according to Ian Rappaport, Carolina is one of several teams who were interested, who showed some interest in signing him before the start of next season.
Right.
They're saying that it was just exploratory and doing their due diligence and all that, but I think that if they go down that road and they sign Dwayne Haskins, that's you're not going to be drafting a quarterback in the top 5 at that point, because otherwise, why would you even bother with Dwayne?
Yeah, so that's a discussion we had off air. Is what happens if they sign Haskins? Because I don't see a problem if you're signing Haskins just to see if he could be a backup, right, for you and possibly develop down the road, as long as you're planning on still bringing in a quarterback to be a starter. But with Carolina, with Matt Rule, is it would the plan B to do that, or the plan B to, hey, we can get Haskins, I can get the most out of him, and we don't need to worry about quarterback. We can go another direction in the draft.
Well, I think that you're not going to be cutting Teddy, right? Because he's got guaranteed money left. So he's going to be there. So if you bring in Dwayne Haskins, I don't think that you're drafting a quarterback at the top of the draft this year. Maybe you go tackle at that point, or maybe even corner, if there's one you like that high. But I think that, like we were just discussing, Teddy, his time as the starter in Carolina is probably just about up.
Yeah.
I think that if they bring in Dwayne Haskins, Teddy will start out as the starter. And once, he has a couple of rocky games, they'll put him on the bench and Dwayne Haskins will come in.
Yeah.
And that's why I do not want to see them sign Dwayne Haskins. Like, we've been down, I wasn't a fan of Haskins even coming out of college, but we've been down this road in the pros and he hasn't shown anything. So I don't know where your interest is coming from.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Like, I still feel like, look, there's no, I'm not making excuses for Teddy Bridgewater, right? Like, you gotta play better. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I don't think it's all on him. And also, I think you can just see, like, that just him and the coaching staff are on the same page. I don't get that feeling that they fully support him. To me, he's not the best quarterback in the world, obviously, but he is somebody, if you throw your full support behind him, right, and just build up the team around him, you can win with him, right? And you see a lot of quarterbacks around the league that just flat out suck, and they get the full support of the organization, and some years they get lucky, right? I mean, look at the Chicago Bears.
Look at Jared Goff.
Look at Jared Goff. Yeah. And I think, some people might say Teddy Bridgewater is he's as good or not as good, whatever. He's in that same category. But those teams have success, is my whole point, right? Like, you can win with Teddy Bridgewater. But I always felt like from the time they signed him, they just wanted him to be a stopgap quarterback. They didn't really look at him as their franchise quarterback. Right. And I think that kind of played out this year. And, Teddy Bridgewater's kind of snapping back at them a little bit, taking his shots, because I think he feels that way too. Like, hey, you're kind of scapegoating me, like you scapegoated Marty Hurney, like you're kind of making it seem like it's all my fault, and it really isn't. So it's ugly to see it play out in the media.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, I like what Matt Rule's done. Like I said, I'm a fan of Teddy, and I don't really want to see them sniping at each other every week in the media.
Right.
But yeah, it's not been all Teddy's fault. Like, you have a bad O-line in Carolina. Right. The best player on the team, and Christian McCaffrey, has missed 13 games. So yeah, you have some good receivers, but you don't have a complete offense around him.
Right.
And even beyond that, you haven't locked up Taylor Moton. You haven't locked up Curtis Samuel. So you're on the brink of this young offense that had a lot of potential start, coming apart.
Right.
If you let Taylor Moton go, then you don't have tackles on either side.
No,
right? No. If you let Curtis Samuel go, like, he's a very dynamic piece of that offense that you just won't have moving forward. He's not an easy guy to replace.
Right.
Because he can do a little bit of everything. So I don't know where their plans are. I just don't see Dwayne Haskins being a valuable addition in Carolina. That you signed Dwayne Haskins, and the message that sends to me is we don't know what we want to do.
Right. Yeah. So they have the Saints this last week. I think that's going to end in a loss. So that'll put them. We got to see where they'll put them in the draft. I did kind of like. I was kind of joking. I didn't like it. I was kind of joking that I hope Teddy got one more win to kind of push them down the draft board so they don't get a quarterback. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, look, if it's not going to work out, it's just not going to work out. I still want Carolina to get a good quarterback. I still want them to be successful because coming into this year, or at the end of last year, I felt like had they kept Cam and just give him some protection, bring some of your defensive players back, don't get rid of the whole defense, I think they could have absolutely competed this year.
Yeah, I believe so. But it's fine. You wanted to go in a different direction.
Yeah,
Okay, you
good.
wanted to rebuild the team and do it the right way because Carolina was never built the right way. They always got a couple of star players and put the entire burden on them, which is why they're so inconsistent. So cool. You want to tear it down and build it the right way. That's fine. But you have to have a solid plan to do that, and it just doesn't seem like they do. And maybe that'll reveal itself later. We know they're not very good at communicating with the fan base. As
Right.
evidenced by the entire Cam Newton fiasco earlier this year. So maybe they do have a plan, and they're just not trying to let anybody in on what that is. We'll have to see. But it doesn't seem like they do. It seems
Yeah.
like they're kind of just taking it day by day.
Yeah. It's never pretty when you're rebuilding, right? Let me say that because every organization does this. They want to rebuild, but they don't want to come out and say they're rebuilding because they want to, protect their interests, right? They still want fans to come out there and buy tickets. They want you to tune in. They want you to buy all the memorabilia and all that stuff, right? So they don't want to say, "Hey, we're rebuilding," because that's tied with losing, and nobody likes to watch their team lose. But I think it's obvious that they're trying to rebuild in a certain way, right?
Mhm.
I think if you're just honest with the fans, I mean, fans aren't stupid. You can get behind that, right? You moved on from Cam, so the minute you move on from Cam, to me, that means rebuild.
Yeah.
That means rebuild, right? I just never thought that Bridgewater was the guys you were going to build a team around. So okay, now you're trying to get a quarterback. What quarterback are you looking at? Because you're not getting one of the top guys, right?
Mhm.
Unless you trade up. I mean, they could. I mean, it really depends on who they're looking at. And I mean, the defense is completely restructured. They're not good right now, but they got some young players. So who are you looking to add to that defense? A lot of questions to be answered.
I think a big part of the frustration is, like I said, the lack of communication and the fact that they just come across as being disingenuous,
Yes.
particularly Tepper. You're out here saying, "Oh, Marty Herney is one of the best evaluators of college talent." Now he's fired. You sell Matt Rule as, we're going to modernize this team. We're going to be using analytics and all this stuff, and then you give a huge contract to Shaq Thompson, give a huge contract to Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of those things should have happened.
Yeah.
If you were really, being analytics driven and talking about positional value and all that kind of stuff, you don't pay either one of those guys. And
Right.
James Bradbury's not a Giant right now. So, it's just kind of confusing where this team is going. Everybody was excited about hiring Joe Brady, but he's not going to be there more than probably another year. And then you're going to be looking for a new offensive coordinator and probably a new identity at that point. So yeah, it's a lot of questions in Carolina. I thought, during the season, as far as on the field, they did a pretty good job, pretty decent job. If they win this week, they'll finish with that 6 wins that we thought that they were going to get. But even if they don't, 5-11 is right around where we thought they would finish.
Yeah.
But as far as the whole team building aspect of it, I mean, we got to wait and see. I don't know who they're going to get as the GM, but that's going to be the most important part of the Panthers rebuild moving forward, obviously.
Yeah.